The objective today is to decide if code is worth protection under current copyright laws. Open source is dear to the heart of many programmers and a thorn in the side of many government and business entities. This lesson is not very different from the last two, but if you embrace open source, you are generally accepting some sort of Creative Commons licensing to your code. What we have not started doing is has anyone started the copyright process? I guess that's more of a question for me to you. I have not heard of anyone starting that process. However, I have heard of many of you talking about the intellectual property you do own or that you have created. So you may consider protecting that. What's currently in progress is this is the last lesson in the second unit of the year, being a copyright unit. So that's what's in progress, is finishing up the unit. And what we have completed is the Creative Commons knowledge, the knowledge about copyright in general, fair use, and knowledge of HTML. Open source license is a type of license for computer software and other products that allows the source code, blueprint, or design to be used, modified, and or shared under defined terms and conditions. Think right, share. What type of terms could this open source license refer to? Hint, think Creative Commons. So licenses which only permit non-commercial redistribution or modification of the source code for personal use only are generally not considered open source licenses. So if you do see a Creative Commons license and there's the $ with the slash through it, you know that this is non-commercial, and therefore people will not be referring to it very often as open source. Think right, share. What was the symbol for non-commercial Creative Commons licenses? So there's two thoughts on this, okay? The Free Source Foundation has a related but distinct criteria for evaluating whether or not a license qualifies as open source or free software. The Debian project has its own criteria, and they're known as the Debian Free Software Guidelines, on which the open source definition is based, okay? So your think right, share on this one is, what are the two competing views between open source definitions? Hint, one is a foundation, the other is a project. An example of many open source products out there, products related to the internet and technology. Just an FYI right here, it's sort of fun knowledge, but there's something called beerware. And beerware is a somewhat tongue-in-cheek term for software released under a very relaxed license, the beerware licensed software. It provides the end user with the right to use a particular program or do anything else with the source code that they want. This is a hot topic amongst programmers, business professionals, and politicians. That is open source, okay? A large argument is currently going on concerning government programmers and whether they should be forced to open source their work or not, because after all, they are working for the public. So some people think if you're a programmer for the government, then everything you do should be visible. The counterpoint to that typically is that if you make things visible, there could be security risks, and sometimes they're referring to unforeseen security risks. It's obvious if you're a defense programmer, a cybersecurity person working for the defense of the country, that maybe some of your work would be classified. That's not the argument. The argument is if you're just like a typical programmer doing just some low-level work for the government, that work should probably be open source, or at the very least viewable by the public. It's just a big debate in the news right now. So sharing ideas can lead to bigger ideas, though I say it all the time in my computer science class, we are standing on the shoulders of giants. Thank you, old people. So thinking about that in the picture right here, a lot of people really support open source because all these little ideas will be the reason that we get some huge breakthroughs in our society. So a Bart Simpson joke right here, think right, share. Why would a business not want their programmers giving their code to the public? And to answer this, kind of think of what your answer would be to the second one. Why would a restaurant want to hide their secret recipe? Bart Simpson writes here, open source is good for me. I will fully embrace it. So right here I say, let's go add a license to your stuff on GitHub. So chances are, if you find things on GitHub, they very well may be open source. And I'm going to show you how to find that out. So one way to see if something's open source is there will be a license.md, and if you click on it, it'll tell you what type of open source license it has. Now you can find copyrighted material on GitHub, and if there's no license at all, the copyright laws may still apply, so you still can't just take things without permission. Chances are the person who owns the repository you're looking at, you can message them and ask for permission if you can't find a license. GitHub has a great user interface right here where you can just easily see what permissions you have with that particular repository you're looking at. And this MIT license is pretty straightforward and very short. So that's why a lot of people like using the short one. My favorite one, though, is going to be the GNU license. So I'll show you how to do that. From your page, your profile page, you get there by clicking the icon on the top right and clicking your profile. You'll see all your repositories here. Okay, so I want you to do this with all the repositories you've created so far. So as of the making of this video right now, you should have 4: a digital age one, a copyright one, a political one for China, and then your very first one, a hardware one. Even if you just have one up, that's fine. Go ahead and click on your repository from here, and then you will click on Create New File. You should already have your index.html and readme file there. And notice that the readme says readme.md. Index.html, the dot is the type of file. So this is an HTML type, meaning you're using that markup language in the file. When it says .md, that stands for Markdown, meaning it's just a text file. So once you click Create New File, you just start typing in license.md, and right over here this will pop up. So then you can choose a license template, and the one I like is the GNU General Public one, and that one is very long. So I feel like there's quite a bit of protection, and like I said, this is my favorite. So for the things that I do in terms of programming, this is what I believe in. Okay. So there's the permissions, there's the limitations, and I will make another video reading this to you if you're curious about the fine print. So you can click on that as soon as I get that up. So after you've picked your license, just click Review and Submit. Scroll down just like you normally do and Commit New File. And you're all done. You've added a license to your repository. You may have to click this right here, Create Pull Request, and then you'll click Merge Pull Request. I don't know why you have to do that for the license. It's a little strange, but I guess they're just really wanting to make sure you know what type of license you've chosen. And now when you go back to your repository, you should see the license right there. So if you want a speedy way to see the directions that I had just given, here's your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps, okay, to do what I just showed you. And then also, I don't know if you know this, searching GitHub by license type is a possibility for you. So if you're looking for a particular type of code, you can search by a particular type of license. And just a heads up, if you're using Stack Overflow with some of your programming or coding questions and you find code you want to use, they have their own how-to guide on how to do that. So be sure to read that before just copying and pasting from there. You could find yourself into some trouble. So here's your IB questions for the day. Remember to just choose one. These are the ones I look forward to reading the most each day after the lesson, to be honest with you. And then here's your DOL. How much of the world's code should be open source? Justify with 2 supporting details.